Previously on the Garner Brothers.
We wanted to thank and welcome our guest star today. This is Ricky.
Ezra's Eagle. Know that this prophecy is about a kingdom.
And I said, okay, wait a minute. What's the Apocrypha?
This vision talks about two main things. It talks about a sequence of the rulers of this great powerful nation in the last days, and it also talks about the secret combination that will prove its ruin. We talked about feathers? The two feathers,
two contraries,
Trump and Biden. But after Biden's feather, everything changes, and it has everything to do with the three heads.
It's very appropriate that we haven't talked about the heads because this whole time the heads have been there, but they've been sleeping, right? They've been bowed, their eyes shut, closed. In other words, they're unseen to the people, but they're there.
My portion is to attempt to round out our overview in describing some connections that this vision has with other visions found in the scriptures. The vision portion ends with talking about the three eagle heads. After we're assuming Biden, there's going to be two more feathers who they think in their minds that they're going to rule next. And that is when the head in the middle of the three heads, the head in the middle wakes up. And he turns and looks over at those feathers who want to rule. And that wakes up the two heads on either side, and they eat those feathers. Is that right?
Yeah, so the third and the fourth feather
on the other side.
On the other side. So the first has ruled, was taken out contrary. These are both contrary. The second was contrary, so they're taken out unnaturally.
Yep.
And then the third and the fourth, when they look to rule,
they're taken out.
So they never do rule.
No.
They never do rule. And so now, the big fat head in the middle takes it upon him or herself to rule. And I won't go into all the details of that right now, but essentially what happens is the three heads, the middle one dies, probably of poison, some kind of sickness or something. The one on the left then takes over, but then is killed by the one on the right, who devours it. And then finally, the one on the right is killed by the sword as well.
No, can I jump in?
Yeah, jump in.
I think what's interesting about 2nd Ezras chapter 12, when the angel or the Lord is interpreting this vision, is that he identifies these three heads and why they're heads and not feathers. He said they're heads because their dominion is the whole earth, and it says it's terrible. And so this first head wakes up, devours these little feathers, and then it has dominion over the earth, the whole earth. And these three heads, the two heads that follow, also reign. They're not as terrible as the middle head, but they also reign, and reign over the whole earth.
So as far as the vision portion in chapter 11 goes, right after that takes place, right after that head on the right eats the head on the left, or devours it and kills it with the sword, the next thing that happens is all of a sudden there's a lion that comes out of the woods. It says it's something about chasing something, but he comes out of the woods, and this lion's just talking to the eagle, giving him a lecture. The lion says, "Aren't you the fourth beast? And aren't you the beast that overcomes all the previous beasts? And you've had power over the world with great fearfulness. You've ruled over the earth with wicked oppression. You've afflicted the meek. You've hurt the peaceable. You love liars. and now your time is over. This is the lion talking to the eagle. Your time is over, and then this is a quote. That all the earth may be refreshed and may return, being delivered from thy violence, and that she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her. And then that is the end of chapter 11, the end of the vision portion. Next you go into chapter 12, which is the interpretation. And there's something in chapter 12 that is interpreted that's not described in chapter 11, the vision portion. In the vision, after Ezra describes the eagle head on the right devouring the eagle head on the left, he goes directly into describing the lion chasing out of the woods. However, the interpretation says there's 2 remaining eagle heads. One kills the other by the sword, and then the other also dies by the sword. And then verses 29 and 30 say, "And whereas thou sawest 2 feathers under the wings, passing over the head that is on the right side, it signifieth that these are they whom the highest hath kept unto their end. This is the small kingdom, and full of trouble, as thou sawest." So it's talking about those, there's 2 feathers. Not the ones that were eaten, but there's still 2 feathers. And they were under the wing, and now they're over the right head. And I don't know what the significance of that is. But the connection between Ezra's eagle and the vision of Daniel cannot be ignored. In 2nd Ezras chapter 12, verse 11, it talks about the eagle is the same kingdom that Daniel saw come up from the sea. In Daniel chapter 7, Daniel saw 4 kingdoms. And this kingdom is the 4th kingdom. Both in 2nd Ezra chapter 11 and chapter 12, they identify the eagle as the 4th beast. The lion tells the eagle, "Aren't you the 4th beast?" I don't know what the eagle said. He probably denied it because he's a liar. But also in Daniel chapter 7, the 4th beast is described as having 10 horns. Now, horns in the scriptures represent strength or aggressiveness. For example, an animal uses its horns as weapons. And so this beast is described as having 10 horns. In Daniel chapter 7, verse 20, it says, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, on the 4th beast's head, and of the other which came up, that's a weird way to say it, but that's basically talking about another horn. So there's 10 horns, and then another one came up on this beast's head. And before whom 3 fell. So there's your connection. It's not a crystal clear connection, but that is a connection. A horn came up, and then 3 of the horns, the 10, fell. Even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. And then that's where we get the term stout horn. So that kind of shows us there's a connection between those feathers and the killing of the 3 heads and this other beast described in Daniel. The Revelation of John also has many passages that also might connect this horn to Ezra's eagle. And there are some who are quite certain that the stout horn is the Antichrist or the Assyrian or the mouth that is referenced in various other scriptural accounts. I don't know enough to know.
And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. We can go as far into this vision as we've experienced. We can't talk for a surety about what's about to happen, the 2 little feathers that get eaten, or the flying feathers and the death, because it hasn't happened, so we don't know.
So I want to talk about, fine, we don't know what's going to happen out there in the future, but right now, I think it's very interesting to look at Ezra's eagle and look at those 2 feathers. He's starting with, on the other side of the wing. We've already been through 1. This is a contrary feather. And now we're on the second, and I think it's interesting to note that what Ezra says about that second feather is that he's going to serve a lesser period of time than the first feather.
Maybe we should read about, because Ezra's vision, it talks about Trump's administration. Again, if this interpretation is correct, it talks about Trump's administration and it talks about Biden's administration. This is all it says about Trump's administration. Verse 26, and I beheld, and lo, there was one set up, and very orange. No, just kidding.
Gosh.
One set up, but shortly it appeared no more. That's all it says about Trump's administration. Then, verse 27, this is supposedly Biden's administration. And the second, so the second feather on the side, which would be Biden, was sooner away than the first. So Trump was taken out for a set period of time, and Biden was taken out sooner. So he has less time than that one.
So we were talking the other day, so logically that means that something huge is going to happen sometime between now and January 19th, 2025.
And huge as in that head wakes up, the eagle head wakes up and prevents the two that think they're going to reign from reigning.
Yes.
And I've always said there's always an excuse for those that are unsure about the interpretation that this is the United States. We're going to know for sure. After these next two feathers, if this is right, and they've done the math on the feathers and linking it with the chronology, thank you, of the presidents. It's what's the odds of this happening? It's astronomical.
And it's happened how many thousands of years ago?
Oh yeah.
This isn't something that Michael B. Rush made up, or somebody else. It's been around.
However, I am of the opinion that regardless of what we've talked about here today, or what Michael B. Rush has said, or any others that have talked about Ezra's Eagle, I'm of the opinion that our guesses, which is what they are not going to be correct. Something is going to be different, but it will. I mean, if it's true, it'll come to fruition. But it may be different than what we think.
Right. Maybe the eagle head won't be like the eagle head we're thinking of.
Yeah. Or maybe the eagle head, because it does, I don't remember where, but it does talk about that middle eagle head coming in and taking out the secret combinations, the Gadiat robbers that are in the government. And so that eagle head might seem good. It might be someone who, in normal situations, we would vote for. But it doesn't sound like we are doing any voting. I didn't vote for it.
Well, I didn't vote for you.
Now I forgot what I was going to say, and I'll have that scene running through my head. And there's nothing in these, we're going to have to stop this quick. There's nothing in this vision or any of this that says that we are going to know when each step happens.
Right.
So when one of the eagle head wakes up and does something, we may not necessarily know that it happens until later.
Also, I think the viewers should understand, for the last 2 years, we have been talking about this stuff amongst each other. We've been reading the books, we've been talking about it, we've been voicing our concerns about whether it's true or not, whether his interpretation is true. We've been looking at the arguments set forth. Like we had mentioned before, the biggest argument is it's not about the United States presidents, it's Rome. Well, there's so many reasons why it could never be Rome. The first is glaring at us. It says it's talking about the last days. Sorry, but Rome was not the last days. The other one is FDR. We've heard the argument that the long feather couldn't represent FDR because he didn't serve a full 4 terms. He was elected 4 terms, but he only served the first year of his 4th term. But they're failing to understand that the feather doesn't represent how long he's in fulfilling the office. It's how it's taken out, how that ruler's taken out. And FDR died by a stroke. He wasn't He wasn't killed or removed.
The secret combinations clearly wanted FDR in place, which is why he was in there for 3 terms and a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
Why he was elected for.
But I think, and there's probably not many people watching it that feel like this, but I think there might be some who say, so what's the point? Why Ezra's Eagle? What's it going to help you? But the significance is this. Number 1, it's fun. Number 2 is it goes back to all the other things that we talk about on our videos, which is you need to make sure that you and your family are prepared because big things are coming. So get your testimony, get your food storage, just get ready because it's going to happen, and we don't want to be unprepared.
It's not predicting the second coming. It's not giving us a timeline so we can know the day and the hour of the second coming or anything like that. It's not a political magic 8-ball. It's doing what the book of Revelation and Isaiah do. It's pointing you to the last days, saying these are the signs of the Son of Man coming. Know that when these things happen, when the Gadiantans are taking over your government, the time is close.
I really like how Michael B. Rush focuses on the Gadianton robbers.
Yes.
Moroni prophesied of the same thing. He didn't say there's an eagle, but he said, you wake up to that awful situation and realize that this same story is happening in the last days. Right. The Gadianton robbers are taking over, and it will prove the downfall of this great nation.
And he says, then when they take over, then you're going to realize the awful situation that you found yourself in.
So it's a good situation.
So we're waking up to the awful situation.
So you're in an awful situation.
Everything is awesome.
But I mean, to I guess end maybe with this point, Jason talked about how it's fun. And it is. It's kind of like filling out the playoff brackets. Like, you don't really know. The scriptures give us some clues, and we know what's certain, but really they don't know the details. And so it is kind of fun. Like, it's kind of fun to fill out your NBA bracket. It's kind of fun to kind of guess, okay, well, what is the middle head? What is this other feather that was plucked out?
That's a good analogy. But nobody fills out NBA brackets.
I was going to say.
Powers, come to me, please! They give me no eagle powers!
And what I say unto you, I say unto all, watch.